Title: Jeffrey Epstein, The Island, the Files, and the Powerful Silence. A private island, a billionaire financier, powerful friends, secret flights, young victims, court files, and a prison death that millions still refuse to believe was simple. Jeffrey Epstein's story is not only about one man. It is about wealth, power, silence, influence, justice, and the disturbing question that still remains: how did Jeffrey Epstein operate for so long, around so many powerful people, while so many warning signs were already visible? Tonight, on Hidden Verdict, we enter one of the darkest and most controversial cases of modern history, the Epstein case. Jeffrey Epstein was known publicly as a wealthy financier, but his wealth itself was surrounded by mystery. He moved in elite circles. He knew politicians. He met business leaders. He had access to celebrities, academics, royalty, and powerful institutions. To outsiders, Epstein looked like a man who belonged in rooms where ordinary people could never enter. But behind that polished image, investigators would later describe something much darker, a hidden world where money, access, secrecy, and influence became protection. And the question begins here. Was Epstein powerful because he had money, or did he have money because he knew powerful people? The allegations against Jeffrey Epstein were horrifying. Federal prosecutors later alleged that Epstein sexually exploited and abused underage girls and used money, employees, and associates to recruit victims. But for many survivors and investigators, the story did not begin in 2019. It had been building for years. There were complaints, there were investigations, there were victims speaking out, there were warning signs. And yet, Epstein remained free for years. He continued to travel. He continued to meet the powerful. He continued to live like a man protected by distance, money, and silence. In 2008, Epstein received a plea deal in Florida that later became one of the most criticized legal agreements in recent American history. To critics, the deal looked shockingly lenient. Epstein avoided a major federal trial. He served limited jail time. He was allowed work release. And many victims said they were not properly informed before the agreement was finalized. This deal became a symbol of how the justice system can appear different when the accused is wealthy, connected, and surrounded by powerful lawyers. For ordinary people, the law can feel like a wall. For Epstein, critics argued, it looked like a door. Then, there was the island, Little St. James, a private island in the U.S. Virgin Islands that became one of the most infamous locations in the Epstein story. To the public, it looked like a billionaire's secret paradise. To investigators and survivors, it became a symbol of fear, secrecy, and alleged abuse. The island became more than a location. It became an image associated with hidden flights, private security, sealed doors, and unanswered questions. Who went there? What did they see? What did they know? Who looked away? But one thing must be said clearly. Being named in Epstein-related records, flight logs, photos, or contact lists does not automatically mean a person committed a crime. The deeper question is not simply who knew Epstein. The deeper question is who knew enough to stop him. In July 2019, the case exploded again. Jeffrey Epstein was arrested and charged in Manhattan federal court with sex trafficking of minors and conspiracy to commit sex trafficking of minors. Suddenly, the case returned to the center of global attention. The world wanted answers. Victims wanted justice. Journalists started digging. Old connections resurfaced. Powerful names were questioned, and the public waited for the trial that might finally expose what had been hidden. But that trial never happened. On the 10th of August 2019, Jeffrey Epstein was found dead in his jail cell at the Metropolitan Correctional Center in New York. He was awaiting trial. And instantly, the world erupted with suspicion. How could one of the most high-profile prisoners in America die inside federal custody? Why was he not being watched properly? Why were there failures in supervision? Why did cameras and security procedures become part of the controversy? The official finding was suicide, but the public doubt became massive. For the government, it was a story of negligence and institutional failure. For many people, it looked like something more, because the timing was explosive. The man who might have testified about powerful people was dead, and with him, many believed, went secrets that could have shaken the world. Epstein's death did not end the case. the focus shifted to Ghislaine Maxwell, a British socialite and close Epstein associate accused of helping recruit and exploit girls. In 2021, Maxwell was convicted in federal court on sex trafficking-related charges connected to Epstein's abuse of teenage girls. For survivors, the conviction mattered. It showed Epstein had not acted in total isolation. But even after Maxwell's conviction, the public asked, was she the final answer, or only one piece of a much larger machine? Then came the files, court documents, depositions, flight records, witness statements, names. Every release created headlines, every document created speculation, every redaction created suspicion. Some people searched them for proof, some searched them for names, some searched them for scandal, but the truth is complicated. A name appearing in documents does not automatically prove criminal involvement. Still, the files matter. They show the scale of Epstein's access. They show how close he came to power. And they show how many questions remain unanswered. The files are not just papers, they are pieces of a puzzle. This is the real center of the Epstein case. Not only the crimes, not only the island, not only the death, but the silence. The silence of institutions, the silence of people who may have known, the silence of systems that failed to act earlier, the silence of powerful circles protecting their own reputations. Epstein's case forces us to ask uncomfortable questions. Can wealth delay justice? Can influence soften punishment? Can powerful networks hide abuse in plain sight? Can the truth be buried not by one conspiracy, but by many people choosing not to look? Jeffrey Epstein is dead, but the case is not. Because this story was never only about Epstein. It was about the world around him. Money, power, access, fear, secrecy, and silence. Maybe Epstein's death was exactly what the official reports say. Maybe the failures were negligence, not conspiracy. But even then, one truth remains impossible to ignore. The system failed the victims long before Epstein died in a jail cell. And perhaps the real hidden verdict is this: Epstein was not protected by one secret. He was protected by many silences. So tonight's question is, was Jeffrey Epstein only a criminal predator who manipulated the powerful, or was he part of a larger system that protected him until it became impossible to hide? Write your verdict in the comments. This was Hidden Verdict, Controversies, Mysteries, Untold Stories.